Are you an overthinker? Do you believe in your gut feelings or intuition? Do you know why and how do we think? And more importantly, how to set goals out of inspiration that energizes and excites us every single day to chase our dreams? Will you believe if I say our thinking is the root cause for all our struggles in life? We have read at multiple places and agree that negative thinking is bad for us, right? But here comes a new perspective that thinking itself is bad for us and it is the root cause for all our sufferings. All type of thinking, either positive or negative, is bad for us. We should never think. Instead, try to be in the state of the flow that gives us joy and happiness, says author Joseph Nguyen in his wonderful book, Don't Believe Everything You Think. I bet you will never be the same person after you read this book. You will see a positive impact on your thinking and decision making style. Author shares his wisdom to understand our potential and create the life we want regardless of what happens externally. This book will help you understand the root cause of all the psychological and emotional suffering. The book offers strategies to quiet the inner voice that we hear all the time, reconnecting with universe and live in the harmony with universe. As our thoughts and perceptions shape how we experience reality, this book will give you a different perspective about our thinking. This book will help achieve mental freedom to create abundant life which we all desire to live. And another interesting perspective about this book is that author shares strategies to avoid thinking and how to make decisions without thinking. And here are my 5 key takeaways from this wonderful book. Number 1, difference between thought versus thinking. Author shares his perspective on what is the difference between a thought and thinking. Basically, thoughts are our mental raw materials. We need thoughts to experience what is happening around us, right? Thoughts are coming up from our brain and it is a typical natural process. Thoughts are never in our control, right? Thoughts take no effort from us and it just happens within ourselves, right? Whereas if you look at thinking on the other side, it is our reflection on our thoughts. I repeat, thoughts are totally happening out of our control, whereas thinking is nothing but our reflection on our thought. Thinking is optional and it makes us to give importance to our thoughts, right? This is energy intensive and requires a lot of effort and willpower. Thinking is about actively engaging our mind with the thought. Number 2, what is the root cause of our suffering? Author says that we tend to live inside our thoughts, not in reality. Reality is an event that happens and there is no meaning to it by itself. It is just that our point of view gives the real event a meaning. We say good or bad, and it's just our perspective. Nothing is good or bad, as events in reality are neutral. And it's just our perception and interpretation that makes us to feel the event is good or bad, says the author. So our thoughts makes our feelings. The meaning we assign to an event determines how we feel about it at the end, right? We are using a filter through which we see life. Because of this filter, we live through a perception of reality and not the reality by itself. So our feelings do not come from external events, but it comes from our own thinking about the event. Listen to it. Our feelings do not come from the external events, but it is just that we giving a meaning about the event. So if we stop thinking, we can be happy, is it not? It becomes so simple when we understand this basic important aspect about our life. Which means, in short, thinking is the root cause for all our suffering. Next, let's move on to an interesting concept, which is number 3. Why do we think? Our mind is designed to think. It is just its job. What we don't understand is that our mind's only duty is to help us survive, protect us from threats. Realize, if we keep using our minds, we will constantly stay in a state of either fight or flight, experiencing fear, anxiety, frustration, depression, anger, whatnot. All negative emotions because our mind thinks everything is a threat to our existence. If we want to be free, happy, peaceful, full of love, joy, then we need to let go of this listening to our mind and go beyond to thrive. As human beings have evolved living in an environment full of threats, living in forest, constantly scanning to protect ourselves from potential danger from animals. But now, in the modern world, our mind is constantly thinking about our past experiences to prepare ourselves to protect us from any potential danger. So, let's not listen to the thoughts that are coming in our mind. Let's stop thinking. This is what author says. And another important aspect author conveys is about positive thoughts. We generally feel only negative thoughts will make us suffer, and positive thoughts are good, right? But what author is trying to argue in this book is thinking itself will make you suffer. He says positive thoughts are never a result of thinking. Instead, positive thoughts are generated by our natural state of flow, where we will be at most in love, peace, and joy. They are just a byproduct of a state of being, not a state of thinking. That's what author says. So, if you want to be happy and stop any sufferings, we must stop thinking. Let me be very honest here. I couldn't really understand what author is trying to say when he said stop thinking. But my perspective changed when I read this beautiful Zen story, a young monk and the empty boat. This really helped me to understand what author is trying to convey by asking us to stop thinking. The story goes like this. A young Zen monk who newly joins a small monastery was asked to meditate in silence for hours. The young monk reported about the disturbances he had due to others making sound, or it could be the birds making chirping noise, or the tree branches making noise due to wind, and many more. The senior monk quickly figures out, looking at the young monk's pupil, that he is becoming angry during every interruption. So he advises the young monk to find a better place so that he doesn't get angry. Primarily because he feels the young monk is going in a direction just exactly the opposite of the real task and the benefit of meditating. So then the young monk starts searching for a good place around, and finally he finds a boat near a lake. He decides to ride on the boat to the center of the lake to have a peaceful time doing meditation. He tries this for a couple of days and he was able to meditate the whole day without any disturbance, and he felt so excited because he didn't got angry throughout the 2 days. On his third day, while he was meditating in the middle of the lake, he heard some splashing noise and he realizes a boat is heading towards his boat where he was meditating. He screams, but nothing changes. And finally, the incoming boat hits on the boat where the monk was sitting. The monk got super angry and he stood up to notice who's there in the boat. To his surprise, there was no one inside the boat. At that moment, when he finds nobody is sitting in the boat that hit his boat, he remembered his mentor's question. Do you know what is making you angry? Was the question that the senior monk has asked him. And he realizes it is not the other people, situations or circumstances. All the people or situation that makes us upset or angry or just like the empty boat. They don't have the power to make us angry without our reaction. This story actually helped me to understand the fact that the reality event that is happening doesn't have a meaning for itself. It is our thinking towards the event that is giving a meaning. So, if we stop thinking and giving importance to our thoughts, just think what can happen to us. With that, let's move on to the fourth key takeaway: how to achieve our goals if we have to stop thinking. Author beautifully talks about two sources for our goals. We do goal setting every year, right? So goals created out of inspiration, and the other is goals created out of desperation. If we have created our goals just because we desperately need it, we would experience scarcity and urgency. As a result, you will feel it as a big burden and we end up looking for validation from others. And it's absolutely common that we all suffer from imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and we always feel like we never have enough time to do anything, isn't it? This happens because we are desperately searching for something, for ways to accomplish our goals faster, always looking for it externally, but never feeling like we already have enough in our life or we can get enough in our life. Even if you accomplish some of your goals, within the next few days, I'm sure we will get into the same feelings again and again. Hence, these goals, which typically comes out of desperation, will make us feel empty. But on the other side, when we create goals out of inspiration, it will be a total different experience. In this state of mind, we are working on something because we feel deeply connected, deeply moved, and inspires us to do the work. We would feel more like a calling than an obligation, right? So you will feel a powerful force within us is trying to be expressed through us. This is the reason why painters paint, or writers write, or singers sing. Even if they know they never get paid or they can never make a living from it. That force within us will pull us to create something and compels us to do it. This is the place where you can create abundance in your life. So now that we know goals coming from inspiration versus desperation, the next big $1 million question is how to determine which goals are coming out of inspiration and coming out of desperation, right? Author says, goals that are coming in the form of thoughts are created out of inspiration, whereas the goals that come in the form of thinking are created out of desperation. Goals are coming out of inspiration will make you feel energized, light, and excited. Whereas if we analyze, judge, criticize, rationalize, we do all this to come up with goals, then these are the goals that are coming out of depression, and you can never have a happy life by following these goals in your life. Moving on to the fifth key takeaway, how do you know what to do without thinking? That's an obvious question, right? So when we make decisions, we want to rely on our thinking, our intuition. When we try to think, analyze, or assess something, whether it is good or bad for us, or even ask others for advice, it causes anxiety and frustration. Most of the time, we already know what to do, and we often call this as a gut feeling or inner wisdom. What we do is to try to conform our intuition with the external world, and this is where we get into the frustrations and negative emotions. Author says that in reality, the problem isn't knowing what to do, but the actual problem many of us face is that we are scared to do it. Only you know what you want to do. No one else can tell you this. So author says, always listen to your intuition. Look within yourself for your answer, not externally. Author suggests to avoid looking for answers in the external world. He recommends to follow our gut instinct, our inner wisdom, and he's confident that if we do that, universe will support us to make it happen. Following our intuition means believing that you have the inner wisdom, an internal compass that guides us throughout our life. This is the state of non-thinking or a state of flow. When we are in this state of flow, we feel connected to the higher power, we lose sense of time, and we experience positive feelings. That gut feeling inside you is your intuition. Let it guide you instead of you trying to force things to do. Interestingly, your intuition often goes against your rational mind's decision. Most people don't follow their intuition just because they are scared to do it, is what author says. And other important aspect you will learn from this book is if you follow this non-thinking, the state of flow, you will start seeing miracles in your life that you have never dreamt of. Author says that for only those who have the faith and courage to do this will be able to discover the true joy and peace of mind. As per the author, when you stop thinking, you make room for new ideas that can change your life. Non-thinking implies having fewer worries or problems. Soon, you will notice that things that caused you stress or anxiety no longer affects you. As a result, you will experience peace and serenity. Such an amazing book Do read this book and learn strategies to stop overthinking and not thinking about and judging your thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. This is Ramya here, committed for your 1% consistent improvement. I'll be sharing my key takeaways from some of the best self-development books. If you like this video, do like and subscribe to my channel. Take care. Bye-bye.